A gourmet evening in the south of France? Not hard to find. But there are few places where you can swap stories with the chef every evening.
Yeah.
This is Le Haut des Espinets. And a real estate agent might call it a 3-story house. But we call it a house with 1,000 stories. Cheers. With the medieval village of St. Paul on one side and a cobalt expanse of the Mediterranean on the other, it's hard to imagine that this place hasn't existed forever. But this evening, this home, and even this meal is the story of a long abandoned dream, one rediscovered, then lost again, before being born as something new. It's a story Lars and Jon like to tell right at this very table. But it all started out in the kitchen.
My big dream was to become a chef, big chef. But there's always a but with this kind of plans, because this would have meant to me that I should work hard for 10 years without earning any kind of money. And I didn't like that. I didn't like this idea. So I dropped my dream again.
Maybe it was the white jackets that made the data technicians of the 1960s look like chefs in a high-tech kitchen. Whatever it was, it caught Lars Svensson's attention.
And if I can get one of these white dresses and go around there in the data centers, then I'm getting rich, man.
And plus you get to dress like a cook, a chef.
Yeah.
30 years later, that's exactly what happened. Lars built and then sold a logistics software company in Denmark for millions. For Lars and his wife, the next step was clear: to step back in time, to the dream he'd not yet forgotten. That step back landed them here, on a hilltop in an idyllic home in Provence, just 10 minutes from the Nice airport.
Many people would believe it's old, 100 years old or something like that, but it's actually built between 80 and 82 by a local architect who also had the idea to reuse some old material. So if you look at the beams up there and you look at the floor, it's both from an old monastery.
Down here on this floor you can actually find fossils.
Yes, you can. I have found a few ones, but you have to look very carefully.
Lars, visiting this place is like discovering friends you never knew you had. That's how somebody wrote it in the book. But it wasn't always that way.
No, it wasn't. Originally, when we started in 2002, we opened with 6 double rooms.
A vacation home for its previous owner, the house seemed at first to be the perfect bed and breakfast. But then the daily grind of guests checking in and out began to set in.
We couldn't live with the fact that we never got close to the guests. They were here for a few days. I mean, they came for sleeping and for driving around in the area, and then they were gone again.
And that wasn't the dream.
That wasn't the dream. The dream was different.
So you had this revolving door crisis, if we could call it that. What happened?
Yeah, it felt like a broken dream. The place and the concept was not what we have dreamt about. We simply were fed up of the whole thing, and we needed just to walk away and to try to define a new concept. The only alternative we could see, that was simply to sell the house again and try something completely different in our life one more time. But we still had the dream that we thought it would be possible to create a system or a concept we could live with and would be nice to live in. You can put out the pig.
I'll put the pig out. There we go. So after you'd been away and you came back, you changed the concept.
Absolutely. We changed the concept radically, going from a situation where we had guests coming in and out of the door every day. We didn't know them. We didn't learn about them because they were only here a few days, into a situation where we had apartments in the house. And that meant that we suddenly had guests staying for weeks. 1 week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks. Today we have guests, they are here 8 weeks per year.
If you could describe the new dream, the dream that was reborn,
Yeah.
how would you describe it?
We are creating a situation where we can create nice menus, having nice wine, have good times with the guests. Not every evening, but a few evenings during the week. And that means it's not a job where you are going flat in the kitchen.
Your turn to shoot.
Thank you. I'll make a better one than yours.
Today, having finally found the right format for living their dream, Lars and Jon take in guests year-round, who come for the nearby skiing in the wintertime too. Lars says they chose the home in 2001, in part because it's close enough to coastal cities like Nice and Cannes, but also because the area is mainly residential.
It's a forest, and it will stay like a forest because it's protected. Nobody will ever be allowed to build there.
And of course because of its proximity to some of France's best restaurants. In towns like the village of St. Paul de Vence, a hamlet of art galleries and home to artists and writers for centuries.
And it's actually the most visited tourist spot in south of France. We are standing here outside St. Paul village. Down here we have the grave of Chagall, amongst others. But we have also the possibility to look home. Look home to a sweet home over there where you can see a high palm tree and a high cypress next to each other. That's actually where we came from.
A lonely palm
minutes ago.
tree.
But for the true Francophile, paradise is more likely to be found on the other side of that palm tree, just a few kilometers south of Lars and Jon's home at the old marketplace in Cagnes-sur-Mer.
And coming in there, that's like walking into paradise if you like food and like to create food.
This is the kind of stuff you can only get in the south of France.
Yes.
Let's go have a look.
Yeah, let's go and have a look.
Yeah, vive la France. It's hard to believe this isn't a movie set, but for Jon, it's just another day out shopping. Making the important decisions, charming the locals,
Okay.
Okay.
and always making sure that only the best ingredients make the cut.
Strawberry, sugar, vinegar, that all makes good sense to me, but then this little guy kind of sneaks in there.
Yeah.
What's
it's
going on?
It's garlic. Garlic is wonderful together with the strawberries. And what I'm doing here is I'm taking fresh strawberries, garlic, some pepper. I will put some pepper on these nice strawberries. I will put some vinegar, this is vinegar framboise, raspberry vinegar. All the sour thing, we remove it with lots of sugar actually. So look at that, approximately that kind of sugar, and most of this little piece of garlic here.
And even though this looks a little bit like a dessert, it's not a dessert.
It is not a dessert, no. And then we take a little bit of salt, okay, and then we blend it. And this one is now a very nice salad. You can taste it by dipping your fingers if you like. Yep.
Does it have a name?
Tomato salad with strawberry glazing.
Plain and simple.
Yeah.
Our story about this wonderful home ends here, where most stories are told, amongst family and amongst friends we didn't even know we had.
And let me tell you a nice story. Just a nice story from this day.